How did I get over being angry at the banks, angry at the government for giving the banks a pass for all of the real estate fraud in 2008 when I was charged and went to prison and got a 7-year prison sentence? Well, it wasn't easy. I was so mad during my whole federal investigation. I was mad at the banks. I was mad at the government. I was mad at the FBI. Everybody I was angry at. And I kept telling my attorney, like, I have information. The banks are not victims. They are fully aware of everything. They were getting paid under the table. They knew the setup of these deals. They were part of it. And they just said, Portia, it's not personal. They choose who they go after, and they're not going after the banks. They're giving the banks a pass because they're bailing the banks out. So not only did the banks not have to be held accountable, they actually made money on the whole thing. And that was hard for me because I left my husband and 5 children and went to prison. So my first year in prison, I still felt very victimized and angry. And the way that I kind of dealt with that was by blogging about the prison and the government and everything else. And then I got transferred, and my second year in prison, I started to really go deep inside myself, looking for freedom because I felt so angry and hurt. And a real turning point for me, first of all, I read every book I could get my hands on, and I was determined to leave prison free. I was determined to free myself while I was in prison. But I watched a girl get up in a class once, and she was so brave, and she admitted completely all of her mistakes. And I hadn't seen anyone do that. She took total accountability for her choices. And she had every reason not to, because she had had parents that were drug addicted. She'd been sexually abused as a child. So all of these things happened to her, and she still took complete ownership of her part. And you could feel the power in the room. So I went up after the class and I just said, what made you decide to do that? And she said, because I'm so sick and tired of suffering, and I've tried everything else but ownership and honesty. And I'm going to try that, and it's going to work, or I'm going to die. I can't do it anymore. And that's when I realized her desperation for freedom drove her to accountability. And so I started working on my own accountability, focusing on my own mistakes. I made a spreadsheet. I listed out everything I had done to hurt anyone. And believe it or not, when you focus on your part, your mistakes, you feel empowered. It's kind of the opposite of what you think. You think when you admit your mistakes, you'll feel weak or broken. I quit feeling angry at the government and started looking at myself and taking ownership of my part, and that was freedom.